Hello, hello. I'm Coach Nikki. I am here in Lake Tahoe, and today I am really excited about talking about how to increase the love in our life. So, coming up on Valentine's weekend, today I'm not necessarily talking about the love that we should feel for a significant other or family members but really turning up the love in our whole life and how to do that in a way that feels authentic to you, and that really just increases that energy of what is so needed in our world. So, if you're just logging on, it's great to see you. Hi, everyone. I'm Coach Nikki. I'm here in Lake Tahoe. I have a little rose for you. Thank you for joining me. Here's a rose for you. And today, we are going to talk about the physicality of love. We're going to talk about your vagus nerve and how to actually work with your system to help you be more open to relationships and love. We're going to talk about the magic of yes. And I know that that's not a real popular statement is like being a yes girl. I'm a yes girl. I say yes to life, but I wanted to talk about what that has done for me and kind of just the magic of yes. And then really thinking about our relationships, whether it's with our significant other, whether it's with our family, our friends, out in the world, and how to strengthen that. So, the first thing is what is always, and actually what this came up at is we just did our wildflower weekend, which is a sister, mom, and daughter's trip. You guys probably know that there's five girls, five sisters, and we all spend one weekend a year together in kind of self development. And we get like 2 hours that we can bring any issues that we have in life, and everybody works on it together to help you solve it. You also do a self development workshop with the whole group. So I came back and just felt like a tremendous amount of support and a tremendous amount of love. And it's something that has been the seed of Kaya since the very, very beginning is that our whole world is better if we can be open to helping each other, open to better relationships, and open to love. But then we go into life. And so just take a second and ask yourself, like, how many years did you go to school? If you play an instrument, how many years did it take you to play an instrument? If you wanted to, like, say through the pandemic, if you wanted to bake bread, how many hours did it take for you to become really good at that? I know, Deb, you knit. Like, how many years have you spent in that art? So ask yourself that, and then what I ask myself is, how many hours do I spend in the study of love? If I want to be loving and I want to be loved and I want to have a joyful life, but I never study it like we do everything else, then it kind of makes sense that we might not be great at it, or at least the best that we could be at it. So, thinking about what it is and how we can study the art of love. And it's not like forcing ourselves to love or forcing ourselves to smile or hug if you don't feel like it. But what it is really thinking about, okay, well, especially like our relationships with our significant other. So we are expected to be with this person for a long amount of time. But if we never study relationships or how to be with one person, or how to kind of function in that type of relationship, then that's a big problem, right? And then we run into these issues, and sometimes if you're married, it could end in divorce or separation, or it could just kind of make cohabitating quite miserable if we're not studying the art of love and studying the art of being better. So today I wanted to not just talk about, oh, wait, I want to go back to our wildflower weekend. So that's what I was saying is, okay, so we all get to, like, spend a lot of time with each other. So Bailey is one of the sisters that came on the trip, and she was saying that her and her husband were going to go to therapy or going to therapy. And he was like, why? We get along so well and we have this great relationship. And she's like, babe, I've been coached my whole entire life for almost everything I do. I've been coached. She's a D1 soccer player. I've been coached in all my sports. She's also a teacher. I've been coached how to teach properly. And if I am not coached in, or we're not coached in a relationship and how to really strengthen and be the best in our relationship, it just doesn't feel right to me. And that was such an aha moment, and kind of one of the things that sparked this conversation between you and I is, don't be afraid to be a study of the art of love. And some of the books that I read coming into this talk is one is just called Love, and it's Leo, and I'll spell his last name because I always butcher last names, but it's Buscaglia. And then Deb, maybe if you don't mind, you can just put the link in to his book Love. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. And then Love 2.0 from Barbara Fredrickson. So those are a couple of the books that I have had in my bookshelf for many, many years that I pulled out in kind of this just short but sweet talk on love. So first and foremost is taking time to figure out how to love yourself. So I'm not sure who the quote is from, but the quote is, I love you starts with I. And if you can't love yourself, then you really can't love anyone else. And it sometimes, I think, as women, probably men included, but that we push ourselves and our needs off for others. But if we don't dive in to really knowing who we are, what makes us feel loved, what makes us feel healthy and strong and able to be vulnerable, and how we deal with stress, then we're really only able to give that amount to other people. And so when we're thinking about studying love and studying relationships and reading books, it should all start with yourself, of like how I can love myself just day by day. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with myself, I think I'm awesome. But just day by day, just waking up in the morning and saying, how can I treat you well today? How can I kind of get rid of some of the junk and add some more self-care, self-love into my daily thoughts, my daily routines that help us know each other more effectively. Okay, so when you're thinking about love, like I said, I wasn't necessarily talking about like your significant other or your friends or things like that, but what love is an interaction, and it can be this teeny, like the most minute uh, interaction between two people. But and just kind of think about something like when you're thinking about like a really uh, like a small interaction that maybe you've had with somebody. So say you're like walking outside and it's a beautiful day, and all of a sudden like the sun peaks up over the mountains and you just happen to, there's somebody walking the other way, and you both like look at each other, smile, and look up at the sunshine. That's a love interaction. And these little moments of interaction between two people that can equal a lot of love in your life. So when we're thinking about studying love and creating better relationships with other people, it's not just the big things, it's the small things as well. And creating more of these magical moments between anybody. It can be between strangers, but where the connection comes is being present. Because if I'm in my own head and I don't even look up and see somebody else's smile or somebody else's like um, what they see. So, a little, we were in Boston when my sister this last year graduated Harvard, and we were running down, and all of a sudden we saw all these people like looking over a bridge, and so we went over to look over the bridge, and there was a beautiful swan who just her eggs had just hatched and she had her babies, and there was a teeny little turtle that was just sitting watching, and there was so much love that was shared between everybody that was sitting quietly along the bridge, that we took that energy and that interaction and let it radiate through our lives. So we can exchange love, we can exchange connection between people all the way from a stranger to somebody that you live with and that you interact with day in and day out. So another thing I wanted to kind of bounce back to loving yourself and actually like the biological, like how you can biologically love more. So Emma is my stepdaughter. She also went on the trip and she did a workshop for us on the vagus nerve. And so with vagal tone, and if you haven't heard about the vagal nerve before, it's the longest nerve in your body, and it starts in your brain, wraps around your heart, goes through your lungs and into your digestive system. So when we have what's called good vagal tone, we are able to adapt to stress more effectively. Like biologically, we're better able to process glucose. We have better gut health, but then also emotionally, people with really good vagal tone can deal with stress. They have stress. They have better stress adapters. They have more capacity to be present and are just in general able to love and make connections with other people on a higher frequency. So it's important to think about that when we're thinking about how to love more and how to research. It's not just reading books and understanding like human behavior, but it's also looking at what we are biologically and how to really make that the best it can possibly be. So if you don't have a pen, grab one now. I'm just gonna rattle these off, and I'd love for you to do your research on your own to see how that you can be and strengthen it's called your vagus nerve, but your vagal tone more effectively. So one is eat more fiber. So I love that. I was like researching and looking at all these like Harvard papers and looking at lots of different from like WebMD, and eating fiber improves the vagal impulse, because what happens is your vagus nerve wraps around into your digestive system. So the more fiber that we eat, the better gut health you have. And when you have better gut health, your vagal nerve, that vagal tone, is more effective. So it all is tied together. Another thing is taking a really good probiotic and prebiotic. If you ever want to buy supplements from us, we sell Aura. We can ship it to you. But one that I love is Trust Your Gut. So this is a prebiotic and probiotic. You've probably heard me talk about prebiotics and probiotics a lot, so I don't need to go into like the potency and things. But if you focus on your gut health, that vagus nerve is able to respond at a higher frequency, and that's something that will help your vagal tone. Okay, then cold exposure. So this is not my favorite. A lot of people at the end of their shower take like a 30-second to like 2 or 3 minute freezing cold shower. Not my favorite, but I would like to do it. But what I do just naturally is, because I live in Tahoe, is I'm out in the cold a lot. And because I'm probably not super organized, I'll just like go out without a jacket or like walk barefoot in the snow to run and get things. So just probably naturally, I'm in the cold more often. And that helps my vagal nerve and that vagus system. So if you have the opportunity to jump into a cold lake, maybe Tahoe with me, anytime, and then also it works even just to splash your face with cold water, that also stimulates that vagus nerve. So thinking about cold exposure as much as you can, uh, deep, slow breath and meditation really helps. So just take a second, sit up nice and tall, roll your shoulders down and back, and then put your hands down towards your back, like reaching kind of towards like that diaphragm. And just see if you can breathe in through your nose and see how deep you can get your breath into that deepest part of your lungs. And then exhale, just release. Inhale. Most people take about 10 to 14 breaths per minute. But if you can slow it down consciously, even like in the morning, that could be your meditation, in the afternoon, or especially when a stressful uh, interaction occurs, if you can take that repetition down to about 6, then that helps you. So your vagal nerve has a lot to do with your fight or flight response, and you've probably heard about that with our parasympathetic nervous system. So the more that we can calm our body when things go like, like, just if you have a really hard conversation and you feel your heartbeat, the quicker you can calm yourself down, you are actively strengthening your vagal nerve, your vagal tones, your vagus nerve. So the more that we can breathe deeply and maybe just say, okay, I'm going to time myself for 1 minute and I'm going to try to take a big inhale, a very slow exhale, and see if I can take my respirations from 10 to 14 down to 6. Okay, so omega 3s, I probably should have said this when I was talking about the fiber, but omega 3s are really good in optimizing our vagal tone. It's because we need omegas for brain health. And like if you're just eat like a little handful of walnuts a day, put chia seed in your oatmeal. You can also take supplements, but omega 3s are really good to reduce your heart rate. It helps with your heart rate variability, which has a lot to do with that vagus nerve, and just good for us. Okay, and then massage. So and actually, like when like they've researched like how massage affects your vagus nerve, is there's good research on a foot massage because of reflexology, and then also on like the right side of your head and up near kind of like the base of your skull. So getting a massage, maybe that would be a great Valentine's gift that you could give to yourself, for self-love, is getting a massage. And then exercise. So exercise, as we know, because we talk about this all the time, is it helps our growth hormone in our body. So it naturally helps us produce more growth hormone. It supports our mitochondria. It releases tension in our body, and it increases or helps decrease that natural cognitive decline. So those are some of the things. Oh, and then you cannot forget this one. So friends, socialization, and laughing. The more hugs, Nancy is like famous for her beautiful hugs, but the more hugs that you give, the more that you spend time with people that you love. And then laughing is so incredibly important. And so I think my daughter was saying that there was like this group called Women Turning into Girls, and that just playing more, having fun, and not being so worried about what other people think about us, and just enjoying each other. So those are all the ways to strengthen your vagal tone and that vagus nerve that runs all the way through your body. So if you have that strength in your body, you're just going to be more open to love, to relationships. So moving forward and thinking about, okay, How can I love myself the most? Make sure that my body is open and feeling really good, and then thinking about like our relationships and our relationships with others. I'm doing good. I think I have like 3 or 4 more minutes with you guys. But when you're thinking about your relationships with other people, the first thing that I always think about is saying yes to what is presented to me. And like I said, I know that that's not the most popular thing right now, but saying yes is one of the most positive words in our language. And when you think about what might hold you back from really good relationships, it might just be that we're not saying yes enough to life. And yes to our significant others, yes to our children, yes to our careers, yes to our family and friends. Being open and being yes doesn't mean saying yes doesn't mean that your whole schedule is filled up with things that people want you to do. That's actually the opposite, is saying yes to the things that bring more joy to your life. Sometimes we don't feel like doing, like, say, like when Layla is my dog is whining and she's like, I want to go for a walk. The last thing I want to do in the cold after a long day of work is go for a walk. But it's easy to say yes to a dog because she whines and cries until you do it. And so then you bring her out and you take her for a walk, and all of a sudden, I feel more love. I feel like I've taken care of her. I feel like I've gotten fresh air. So, same thing when we're thinking about like our relationship with our significant other. And a lot of times, if you think about like the amount of time that you give to the person that you spend the most time with, is pretty minimal, and especially if you have kids and your kids are little and young, is ever and I get it, like, it's like the last thing that we want is to like give ourselves and we're talking about like physically, so like sex, and if you're thinking about like cuddling and that like time alone, it's really hard to carve out the time. But if you think about the amount of time that you give to your significant other, it's so important for us to, one, for what I do is I actually put it on my calendar because I'm busy and I have a lot going on. And if I don't put time with my husband, then it just ends up not happening. And I jump on my computer and I do my workouts and I take care of Kai and Coral and I do all these things, but then I'm not nurturing the relationship that is with the person that I'll spend my life with. I'm going to close this real quick because the thing, um, that's better. So I'll leave you with thinking about that our relationships with other people is one of the most important things that we can focus on. And I'll jump back to sex real quick because it is, sometimes we think about like, oh, that like intimacy, or though, like just even cuddling, not even thinking about sex, but just cuddling, hugging people is really, really good for us. It releases oxycontin, or no, not oxycontin. Do not do that. Oxytocin. So I always get those two confused. So oxytocin is that happy chemical inside our body that is released when we feel like love and connection with other people. And it really improves like your heart health, it reduces stress, and it it connects relationships more so than anything else that we can do. So the more hugs, the more intimacy, the more that we say yes to things that are proposed in life, whether it's a walk outside in the park, whether it's holding hands, whether it is just spending time with other people, the happier that we will be, because we are human beings are meant to be connected. We are social creatures, and we're meant to be connected with friends and with family. And the more that we can take ourselves out of isolation, whether it's in our mind or actually in our physical space, and say yes to things that might not be what exactly we want to do, it creates more health in the long term, more love in the long term. And those little sparks of connection, be it with a stranger, of just like a smile and interacting in something in nature, whether it's a friend at coffee or lunch or at a workout, or whether it's here, you and I looking in each other's eyes and saying, hey, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for being in my life. All of those things create not only a better you, but a better world. So, you guys, thank you so much for jumping on with me. I love each and every one of you. I really, really do. And I know that you are that your journey is so incredibly important. And the more that we can research and just bring awareness into how we can be a little bit better in our health, how we can be a little bit better in our relationships with our significant other, if you have kids, or with your friends, that research, that time, hopefully this time that we spend together, is very valuable in how we pass it on to other